Air India has a reputation it wants to distance itself from. In recent years, although it has remained a force to be reckoned with, it has been in a notable decline in terms of service, such as in terms of punctuality and on-board service, as well as various crises of financial mismanagement, especially during the airline's tenure nationalized under the Indian government. The Indian government attempted to distance itself from the loss-making airline on multiple occasions, with the Indian Minister for Civil Aviation, Ajit Singh, stating that privatization was the key to Air India's survival. For reference, this was stated back in 2013, putting it into perspective that the reasons for Air India's future aren't a reaction to recent events. Under nationalization, the company made financial adjustments such as selling and leasing back brand new Boeing 787 Dreamliners in order to preserve capital. Air India gained the reputation of delays not just in punctuality, but also debt, cabin and service upgrades, and privatization. Many of Air India's struggles can be attributed to competition from low-cost and full-service carriers, such as Indigo and Vistara, the former holding more than 50% of India's domestic passenger market. The low-cost market in India is absolutely booming and has been going from strength to strength for many years now, allowing for full-service carriers that have found trouble adapting to their new competition difficult through mismanagement, lack of funds, and other factors. From this, it's evident that the reputation of Air India has been spiraling for some time now, and they have suffered the consequences as a result. But the future looks bright for the Indian flag carrier. In this video, we will have a look at how Air India may have just been able to turn its future around. Back in October of 2021, it was revealed that the Tata Group had bought Air India from the Indian government for 18,000 crore, or approximately $2.4 billion at the time. The Tata Group, who originally founded Air India all the way back in 1946, at the time already had a major influence in the Indian aviation market, with it holding a 51% stake in rival Indian full-service carrier Vistara, with the other 49% being held by Singapore Airlines. In addition, the group also held an approximately 84% stake in AirAsia India, taking the majority share from AirAsia proper. Now, with the direct influence over 24% of the Indian domestic market and considerable market share over India's international market too, questions began to be asked as whether Tata's aviation operations would be merged and streamlined anytime soon. So who were Tata's other airlines? Founded as a joint venture between the Tata Group and Singapore Airlines in 2013, Vistara is the second largest domestic Indian carrier in terms of market share, holding 8.7%. It operates 63 aircraft to 49 destinations across India and its European and Asian destinations such as London Heathrow and Paris Charles de Gaulle, Hong Kong, and Denpasar. The airline has certainly been under the influence of Singapore Airlines in terms of its cabin product, with it being praised by many. It has even hailed it as the airline India deserves, with it having a business, premium economy, and economy class product, lounges, impressive in-flight entertainment, and catering to match, in many ways outshining Air India itself. Vistara was also India's only other full-service carrier, bringing the two into direct competition. As a result of the merger into the larger Air India, Singapore Airlines will hold a 25.1% stake in the new airline. Also founded in 2013, AirAsia India was a low-cost airline, a subsidiary of the much larger AirAsia Group based in Malaysia. It was a much smaller carrier than the likes of Indigo or Vistara, operating a fleet of 27 Airbus A350s and A320neos to 19 destinations solely within India, and as of 2021, they held only 5.8% of the Indian domestic market, the smallest of all the major domestic carriers. AirAsia India was far more aligned with Air India's low-cost subsidiary, Air India Express, in terms of business model and target market. On the 2nd of November 2022, AirAsia sold its remaining 16% in AirAsia India to Tata Group for 18,000 crore, or $2.4 billion, giving Tata 100% control over the company. This deal included taking on all of AirAsia India's debts, and the airline's operations would be merged into Air India Express, thus completely removing the AirAsia India brand. Air India's purchase and privatization came with many new changes, acting as precursors to their corporate relaunch in 2023. To start, in December 2022, it was announced that Air India and Vistara would merge and be placed under the Air India branding. This was due to give both carriers a competitive edge, with Vistara gaining access to Air India's domestic and international slots, and Air India having a revitalized outlook towards customer service and gaining Vistara's valuable customer base. Furthermore, both carriers would benefit, with them increasing in size to become India's number 2 airline in terms of both fleet size, with a combined 215 aircraft, and a combined domestic market share of 18.2% at the time of the announcement of the merger. This still pales in comparison to low-cost competitor Indigo's 57% domestic market share. However, this is the first time that their position has properly been challenged. It was also decided that the 3 airlines would be combined under the Air India branding thanks to the company's brand prominence and easy recognition of Air India as India's flag carrier. This is more pivoted toward brand prominence and promotion on an international level and will be less confusing to customers who aren't familiar with the many airlines within India. In addition to the combination of assets from Air India and Vistara, a new CEO, New Zealander Campbell Wilson, was appointed. Notably, Wilson's background consists of being appointed Vice President of Sales at Singapore Airline and CEO of Scoot Airlines, the Singapore Airlines low-cost branch, before his arrival at Air India on the 12th of May, 2022. In total, Wilson spent 26 years at Singapore Airline, and as a result, it has been suggested that he does know what good looks like. Arguably, the biggest news prior to their relaunch came on day 2 of the 2023 Paris Air Show, when Air India confirmed its orders with Airbus and Boeing for a groundbreaking 470 combined aircraft. Starting with Airbus, their orders amounted to 250 units, split across 140 A320neos, 70 A321neos, 34 A350-1000s, and 6 A350-900s. Moving to Boeing, the order totaled 222 new airframes, set across 190 737 MAXs, with a to-be-confirmed split between the shorter MAX 8 and larger MAX 10. In addition to the 737s, Air India will also welcome 20 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners and 10 Boeing 777-9s. The total order for all aircraft was approximately $70 billion at list prices. Some, however, are skeptical if an order this size will bring the success they want. On day 1 of the Paris Air Show, just 1 day before Air India's order, Indigo placed an order for 500 A320 family aircraft, which led to questions over whether the two were hunting for the same customers and whether Indian carriers were over-ordering aircraft. Nonetheless, the expansion has officially begun. The media's questions over whether Tata's assets would be combined were answered on the 10th of August 2023 with the airline's official brand relaunch. In a bid to try and separate themselves from the old, tired Air India of the past, under Campbell Wilson's leadership, the airline released a complete rebrand, practically a revolution from its former self. At a ceremony in New Delhi, Wilson revealed to the world what the new Air India would look like both literally and in terms of its business model. In terms of its paint scheme, the older gold and red paint scheme has gone, making way for a new white, red, gold, and purple scheme. On the tail, a window frame takes center stage as the new company logo, symbolizing looking into the future, the past, and the beginning of new journeys. This is also a nod to previous liveries worn by Air India. In terms of writing, Air India is printed in English in a bold, red, specially designed font on both sides of the fuselage and belly of the aircraft. What's interesting is that the writing of Air India in Hindi, as seen in previous liveries, is not present. And very notably, the old Maharaja mascot for the airline has said its final farewell and no longer features in the airline's corporate branding. Moving inside the cabin, Air India is bringing out an entirely new cabin product, featuring new flight crew uniforms, new seats, and new amenity kits. And in these new cabins, in-flight entertainment at every seat. These new systems are due to host over 1,700 hours of content and will be home to the largest library of Indian content of any airline, as well as content from many international sources. And if that isn't enough, Wi-Fi is due to be available on board every aircraft, a first for Indian aviation. Passengers will also be treated to brand new menus featuring the latest and greatest of onboard meals. All in all, cabin revamps alone have set Air India back $400 million. On the ground, too, passengers can now enjoy a lounge at every destination Air India serves, with a focus on the absolute highest quality options on offer selected for their passengers. And away from the planes entirely, a new and improved website has been launched, featuring a simple and user-friendly interface, as well as revamped customer loyalty program. The new Air India wishes to operate on a level that is comparable with the world's Emirates and Qatar Airways, promoting India to the world through a new lens, and as a place that can offer the best of anything and everything. It plans to more easily reach India's international diaspora that's spread across the globe, and to be somewhat of a connecting hub for passengers traveling between East and West, in order to capitalize its position in the world and maximize its potential. In terms of Air India Express, they too are experiencing a revamp. However, this is not quite as extensive. New aircraft, including the Boeing 737 MAX 8 and 10 and Airbus A350neo, are on their way, with the first examples already flying under the new branding. Again, the livery has been thoroughly updated, with bold titles down the fuselage and differing from the main Air India livery, with orange being the main color for Air India Express, as opposed to the red for the parent company. Moving to the interior, the seats are again new and redesigned from the older generation. However, they do not feature in-flight entertainment. At the end of the day, Air India Express is still a low-cost carrier, but it will not be operating independently from Air India proper, with them operating in their own right, as well as for feeder operations to the parent company. CEO Campbell Wilson wishes to bring Air India back to its glory days and seems to be very enthusiastic about the project. In an interview with CNN, he outlined that, despite its shortcomings, Air India has always been renowned for its warmth toward its passengers and sees that as an asset that can be brought forward and emphasized to customers. With a can-do attitude and the money to complete the task, the future of Air India is set to be bright. Air India was once renowned for being an outstanding airline. However, mismanagement and a lack of funds allowed them to gradually slip into disrepute, allowing for the rapid growth of fierce competition over the markets it once dominated. Air India became weak, and its reputation was stagnant in a bad place, known for inefficiency and bad service, memorable for all the wrong reasons. At its disposal now is a CEO with a vision and the money to execute it. They have already taken big steps, but this is a long path. Will it be enough to bring Air India back to what it once was? All we can do is watch. But it's safe to say that the future looks bright for Air India, and it might just be within reach.